is the moment I knew that for him,
you can't even see the top of that thing.
Even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You are now listening to Just a Bit Outside, the sports radio show at BeExposedRadio.com. Come join us every Monday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, or BeExposedRadio.com.
So we had a lot of things going on.
Mother's Day, Major League Baseball, pink bats, pink outfits.
Yeah. They certainly did the mothers good. They don't show them justice. Like Jimmy said, the pink bats, cleats, all types of pink highlights in the major leagues. The Orioles were swept by the Kansas City Royals.
Wah, wah.
The Kansas City Royals. Thank you, Eric. Kansas City Royals is they're like one of the worst teams in the Major League Baseball right now. Yeah, so that was a little tough.
Yeah, so the Orioles no longer have the top record. It belongs to the Washington Nationals now.
Yeah, so that was tough.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
People, welcome back. This is the Conflict Resolution Show. I am your host, Coach White, your holistic personal trainer. This is a show where personal training is redefined and conflicts are resolved. So I wanted to recap. If you missed the show last week, you missed a really good show. We'll have part 3, I'm sure, at some point, because it's very important that we as a people be better stewards over the bodies that God gave us. So we talk sometimes about diet, lifestyle, and health. So last week we had Sister Teresa on. Her ministry is called Spirit Fit. So she gave some information about her training program, her holistic personal training. Bless you for your ministry, Sister Teresa. And we had Brother Alfred on as well to talk about his book, Taste Buds. It's a really, really important book. Is what we're eating us. So it's very, very important to know the effects of what we're eating. And it's also important to know, as I shared last week, in 2017, the leading causes of death in Baltimore City had nothing to do with homicides, but what I would deem to be suicide: cancer, heart disease, and stroke. So we had a really good segment on that, talking about our eating patterns, how things were passed down to us from great-grandmother or grandmother, and how we need to be educated on the ingredients of what we're eating, what's going in the food, and paying very close attention to how it affects us. So I always share in the beginning a part of the services that I provide are the daily diet journal assessment. So if you come on board, one thing that we will do is look closely at your diet, look at some things that you could add to it or take away from it. So I hold you accountable to that based upon what your goals are. I still have a training slot available beginning next week, not this week, but next week, Tuesday through Friday morning at 6:30. So if you want to join me out at Planet Fitness in the Towson area, come on out and get a really good workout. You won't regret it. And I want to talk a little bit about the conflict resolution side as we prepare to introduce the topic for today. So the weekly journal assessments is something that is a very crucial component in the services that I provide. We need to really impact the conflicts that exist in your life. So there will be a correspondence going on between you and I. I want you to share what some of your triggers are, some of the things that are impacting you in your environment. So we can pick those things apart. You know, as I stated in previous segments, this ministry, I always say my work is my ministry. This ministry was built on 2 scriptures. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So one is directed towards stewardship. That's taking care of the bodies that God gave us. The other is about relationships with your neighbors, relationship with yourself, and honoring God through that process. So those are one of the services. And again, if there's anything that's discussed that you want to invite me in to speak about, I'm open to do that as well, including group seminars and workshops and things of that nature. So that is the recap and the announcements that I have. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving week. Hope your work week is short and less stressful as possible. So we get ready to go to a break, and when we come back, I'm gonna bring on one of my favorite brothers in ministry, Brother Marvin McKenstry, and he brought on one of his sons, Brother Shalech. We're going to talk about interracial conflicts, black on black male homicides in Baltimore City. Do we hate each other? Do we hate each other? So stay tuned. We're about to go to a break. We will be right back, and we're going to jump right into this topic. Stay tuned.
I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Check out this flashback from the Artist Exchange radio show.
That's the biggest thing, is just empowerment. Just get off of the begging line. Just be proud and just get our pride and our dignity back, because as a child, we're taught how to go and beg for a job. Our parents, they literally taught us how to make sure you pull your pants up. Me, I'm 6'7", so I'm a bigger man. I was always taught how to not be threatening or intimidate people when I go into different interviews or different scenarios. And so we're literally taught how to condition ourselves, condition our speech, everything, in order to go and beg these people for a job, because we know when we walk in the door, I have to tear down 10 stereotypes before I get past hello. So we need to eliminate that. You know, and we need to eliminate that, and the way that we do that is employing ourselves and employing our brothers and sisters. And so that's our mission, is group economics, uplift ourselves, because I can't empower anyone until I empower myself, and change from just being willing, because it's in my heart and my passion to see my people succeed and see us do better and change the social order, because I know that we are not supposed to be on bottom. I understand who I was. I know I didn't fall out of the sky and land on a plantation. So when you have knowledge of self and you know who you are and what you come from, it's frustrating more than anything to see us in this position.
Tune into the Artist Exchange every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. live BigExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait, Mom, what? Huh?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You use Tearless baby shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. So I'm your host, Coach White. This is the Conflict Resolution Show. We're going to get right back into this topic. This is extremely important for us to discuss. But before we get into it, again, we're talking about interracial conflicts, black on black male homicides in Baltimore City. I want to read some statistics that I shared the last time we were on this topic as a segue into the discussion. So this is from Kevin Rector in the Baltimore Sun. And it reads, of the 343 people killed in Baltimore in 2017, 88% were killed with a firearm, including 295 with a handgun and 6 with a shotgun or rifle, according to Baltimore police data released. About 86% of the victims and 85% of the suspects identified by police had prior criminal records. About 46% of victims and 44% of suspects had previously been arrested for gun crimes, the data show. Of the guns used, the overwhelming majority of them are going to be illegally possessed, said T.J. Smith, a police spokesman. Smith said the numbers from the department's annual homicide analysis support what the department has been saying, that, quote, the weapon of choice for bad guys in Baltimore is the handgun, that repeat violent offenders are routinely behind the violence, and that often today's victims are yesterday's suspects, and today's suspects can be tomorrow's victims, end quote. The data are indicative of the problem that we know we have, which is people with guns using them on each other, he said. But often last year, homicides occurred as a direct result of the violent drug trade and the easy accessibility of firearms. They involve rival drug crews and gang members in turf disputes or acting in retaliation for past acts of violence, police and police data suggests. The average homicide victim in Baltimore in 2017 had 11 previous arrests on his record. About 73% had drug arrests, and nearly 50% have been arrested for a violent crime. About 30% were on parole or probation at the time they were killed. More than 6% were on parole or probation for a gun crime. 20% of the victims were known members of a gang or drug crew, according to the data. The average homicide suspect, meanwhile, had 9 previous arrests on his record. About 70% had drug arrests, and nearly half had been arrested for a violent crime. Nearly 36% were on parole or probation, and 6% were on parole or probation for a gun crime, the data show. 18% of the suspects were known members of a gang or drug crew, according to the data. Police did not know the motive behind nearly half of the killings, but at least 20 were related to retaliation, according to the data. Many of the data trends identified in 2017 mirrored those seen in 2016. More than 90% of homicide victims were black, more than 90% were male, and nearly 65% were between the ages 18 and 34. More than 86% were killed outdoors, 13 were children. About 45% of the victims were shot in the head. Brother Marvin, Brother Shalech, thank you again for joining the conversation. I just want to open up by getting your take on those statistics that were shared.
Welcome to Baltimore.
Yeah.
This is a reality that when you function, operate, and minister in the places that I minister, you don't need Kevin Rector or the police database to tell you that.
Yeah.
You see it, you live it, you experience it up close and personal. And as I've been known to say, you know, with what they call 96%, I call Carell, I call Tony Man, I call Kia. I call them people who, regardless of previous arrests and all of the things that they like to that they talk about in those statistics, are still no less victims of a culture of murder that's taking place in this city. I think that you see the cycle and the systematic aspect of what it means to live poor in Baltimore when you hear about the previous arrests, when you hear about the drug culture, when you hear about all of those things. While some people would say, yeah, that's what when you in there, or you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas, or when you in that cycle, that's what happens. I say, when you look at what it really means, I'm from Lexington Terrace Projects. When you look at what it really means to grow up in impoverished Baltimore, we've watched down through the years the progression that Baltimore and its urban communities has taken towards this murder culture. Violence has always been a part of the drug culture, going all the way back to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's more violent now because of a heavy influx of guns in our community. We don't manufacture guns. We don't transport guns. We don't sell guns. But they all over our community, killing our young people. And you got quotes like Mr. Rector said in his article that today's homicide suspect is today's homicide victim is yesterday's homicide suspect, and vice versa. It's a product of a culture that we don't want to keep it real about. We don't really want to talk about just how heinous it is. And then when you look at the priorities of those who are in positions of power, political seats and otherwise, it's not towards those that are being greatest affected. We work with 18 to 24. How I serve, I work with 18 to 35-year-old population. Some of those guys that are later in life that are working with me to try to find some change is because they spent 18 up until 27, 28, 29, 30 incarcerated, coming out here with no real skills, no real information, no real resources, trying to reacclimate themselves back to a community where the access to drugs and weapons is more prevalent than when they left. But we don't have no more jobs than when they left. We don't have any more opportunities. We still don't have a real living wage. We still don't have the kind of relationships that we need with local businesses to make sure that people understand returning citizens deserve a second chance. But it's still right outside their door, real prevalent, the drug activity, the violence, and all of that, to jump back in with both feet. So we got to keep it real with ourselves, and we got to keep it real whenever we go to addressing these topics. This is a matter of culture. Yeah. You don't change a culture overnight. You can change one life at a time, and I thank God that we're able to do that. But this is a matter of culture. Absolutely. It's a system in place, and we got a lot of work to do before we can overturn an entire system that's designed to fail.
Stay right there, Brother Marv. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We're going to pick up where we left off.
So this is the fun part, because we don't stop talking when we go to bed.
Exposed Radio.
Well, if you made them, take care of them.
Yeah, that's
period.
The real. Right. That's the real deal.
It's period.
Right. And all that old money shouldn't go toward this. Money should go to if the child is with one of the parents 24/7, 7 days a week. You don't even come get your child every day. You come get your child once a month maybe, or once every 3 months.
Right.
You cannot dictate where that money goes, especially if the child ain't calling you about nothing. Now, if the child calling you every week, then you can question about where the child support is going. But if every time you pick up the child, they look nice, they ain't complaining about nothing, why are you worrying about where the money go at?
It is what it is. Radio.
My name is Ruth Rusey. I'm a retired teacher. I'm 91 years old, and this is how I live united. I say retired, but not really. Once a week, I read books to children as part of United Way's education program. Reading to a child creates links between language and literacy. It creates a bond between grown-up and child. And believe it or not, it prepares them for a better academic future. Oh, we read about frogs and flies and pigs with wings, all sorts of juicy stuff. It's a joy to watch all those little faces. I figure I have the time and they have the need. And I've always believed that...
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Tell them what it took for you, because that's your testimony that you're talking about. That's your whole reality.
Good people. Thank you for joining us again. We talking about interracial conflict, black on black homicides in Baltimore City. Definitely want to get your input. The phone number is 410-702-5657. I am Coach White, your holistic personal trainer. I'm going to turn it over to Brother Shalech. Brother Marvin was talking about the culture, as we said. So my question to you is, if I am in the culture, but I don't want to be of the culture, what do I need to do at this point, in your opinion? If I'm from the opinion of a young parent, what would you suggest? I'm this 18, 19-year-old young parent. I was caught up in gangs. I was caught up in the drug world, but now my child has changed my perspective. I got to do something different for my child. Right. So what do I need to do?
I mean, I don't know. Like, what I say is, all you can do is distance yourself from that. If you choose to linger around and still be around them,
go ahead, you keep talking.
Then you'll never leave it.
Okay. So so it sounds like you're saying that if I'm this young adult and I change, one thing I share with my children is you become like who you hang around.
Yeah.
So you think one of the solutions for me as that young parent that is in the culture, but I don't want to be of the culture, I got to change the people I hang around.
Yeah.
And don't let me put
like
words in your mouth.
Surround yourself around people that's positive. Like that's what I had to do.
Okay.
For me to have people keep pushing me to do the greatness.
Okay. And we're going to keep talking, Brother Marv, while we get his mic adjusted. And let me say this. Brother Marvin is doing a lot of big things in our community, and I don't take that lightly. So I'd like to invite him on to give his perspective as somebody that's on the front line. So I'm glad the young brother was able to come as well. I thought about giving birth to helping out young parents, right? If we would be humble enough to say, I need help. You know, I don't want my son or daughter to follow in my path. And those are the parents that I'm willing to help, and without even charging anything. But it takes humility to come forward and say, I really need that help. So how do I adjust as a young man? I'm in my early 20s, right? And I'm in that situation where I don't want to be of the culture, but I have one foot in and one foot out. Maybe it's not that easy for me to pull away from this gang. When Brother Marvin was on last time, he shared that in some cases only one way out, right? So I may end up being killed. I may end up being shot. I may end up being stabbed to get out. So speak to that young brother who may be watching tonight. He wants to get out. He doesn't want to be soft. You know what I mean? He may not be the leader of the pack, but he got this little kid he got to take care of. So what would you, it sounds easy to say, I need to surround myself by positive people. So I can go to Brother Marvin, I can go into church, and I can connect with the ministers, or I can connect with some other brothers that may not be in the church, but I got to go back home. So speak to that young brother right now. What would you recommend if it's hard for him to get out?
All right, now I'm going to tell you from a real life perspective, like what I went through.
Okay.
All right, so it's probably like, I'm going to say 2 years ago, so that's 2016.
Okay.
I was selling dope down in Gilmore Homes Projects.
Okay.
One morning I wake up, came out a little late. Make a long story short, I comes in the building. I didn't have no drugs inside at the time. Dude just came home from going to bed or whatever. Make a long story short, that's what I was selling for. He tell me.
You keep talking. We just going to adjust your mic.
Okay, he tell me like, if you ain't selling no drugs, you gotta get out the building. I wasn't with that person. I took it on the tip like he was bitching me. Sorry to cuss, but I took it on that tip, so I wasn't going nowhere. He flex out the knife. I just look at it. I laugh. I go in the little abandoned house to go get my phone or whatever. All I know is I get that little instinct in my head tell me like turn around. Once I turned around, he stabbed me right in my neck. After that, I changed for a while, but then brother came home. I just lost my job, and I jumped back out there. Recently, I just got locked up. I was locked up on 2 different dope charges. I got a bail on the first one, came home, jumped right back out there. Got locked up, this time they held me. I was in a cell thinking time to time like, it's so crazy how I can put all my energy in doing wrong when I can do right.
Okay.
For some people, for most people, I'm going to say, I don't know it's going to take probably over time for them to learn right from wrong. Like, most people know right from wrong, but I guess it's going to take them either death or it's either going to be too late for them to want to change or do better with their lives.
Okay, let me recap. I'm trying to put your story. I'm replaying your story, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So you were selling, right?
Yes.
And then you said you had an encounter with a guy. The guy basically said, if you're not going to be selling, you got to roll out. So you took it as disrespect.
Right.
And because you took it as disrespect, it's where I got a little lost. At some point, he pulled a knife out. Was it because you didn't move?
Yeah, because I didn't leave.
Okay. So instead of fighting you, his thought was, if I pull this, possibly, if I pull this knife out, he gonna roll out.
He gonna leave.
You in turn, the knife didn't matter to you.
Right.
What mattered is taking a stand as a man. Here's another man telling me to move, but I'm not going nowhere. So it was a pride thing.
Right.
And you said you had walked away at one point and he stabbed you.
Yeah, I turned around to go get my phone and enter the abandoned house. I had that instinct, like, turn around. And once I did, he stabbed me.
Okay. And when he stabbed you, what happened after that? Did you guys tussle?
It's like I blacked out. And then I opened my eyes again. And I seen him running. I two-pieced him. He ran off. I started to chase him. But I'm like, nah, I'm bleeding. He not. I ain't know what he did, tell you the truth. I never knew he stabbed me. I thought he might have shot me in my head, grazed me or something, because I was lightheaded and I was just losing so much blood.
Okay.
But going out to like leave, I get the feeling myself, because I had on all white, so I seen all the blood. And I get the feeling myself, and I found like my neck was flat. So I seen that he stabbed me.
Okay. And I'm a visual person. So I'm picking that apart and I'm visualizing how all that happened. I can even understand the pride getting in the way. Right? Here's a guy telling me to roll out. But because you in the belly, right? I'm not going nowhere. Because it's disrespect, right? Here's what I can't understand. And this is probably where Marvin and I's generation is kind of different from your generation. Everybody wants a weapon. Right? And they be the same, and no disrespect to him, but I'm just speaking generally through your situation. These would be the same guys in jail with no weapons that don't want no trouble. But yet they had this weapon, and this weapon in their own mind, their psyche, gives them so much power. You know what I mean? Marvin and our generation, that might have just been a fight. You know what I mean? It may have just been, look, you know, dude, you gonna roll out, I ain't going nowhere. And somebody hit somebody and then it was on. But this generation now, it's no more fighting, man. I mean, people go straight to weapons. And that's part of the reason why we had the statistics that we do. And there was a season, Marv, if you remember, where boxing gyms were just popping up.
Yeah.
And people were in the gyms because they wanted to make sure their hands was right. And they wanted to be able to defend themselves. We kind of moved, and I don't even know if our culture has subscribed to it, but now we're at a place where Muay Thai, that UFC style of fighting is coming, but it may even skip our culture. It seemed to be more common amongst other ethnicities. And it's just mind-blowing to me, man, that we choose now to have so many weapons. And when a kid, like, that could have been the end of you. Marvin and I could have been talking right now about you when you were here.
Seriously.
If I can chime in on that, brother, that's what I mean when I keep using the term culture. The UFC does market to a specific culture. The NFL markets to a specific culture. This is the culture of urban Baltimore. The weapons, whether it be the knives. I have young ladies that come walking into my office and they got a knife.
Yeah.
Everybody has that pocket knife. You know, you can go right to the corner store and you can get, they got 17 different blades as options up there. You don't see that in other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The reality of it is our culture is one where you got to get or get got. That's the philosophy. A lot of what you're seeing now, aside from the retaliations, it's the space where I got to get you so you don't get me. I got to anticipate that you got a weapon, so I need to arm myself because it's so prevalent. That's what it is. Whether it be the guns, the knives, the young ladies walking around with pepper spray, you know what I mean? This is, everybody feels as though they got to be protected or they got to protect themselves. I can't get caught slipping out here. I got to have mine on me. That's the culture.
Okay.
It's like the Wild Wild West, man. When I look at old Western movies and, you know, you had the OK Corral and all it took was a disagreement over a card game and we going to go outside and settle it, like, man, that's where we at in urban Baltimore. That's where we at in the cultures where you see, you know, other non-police districts, you got 4.5 that contribute greatest to this violent culture, but they don't talk about that because they don't want you to know that it's a red line type of situation.
Okay, pause for 1 second, brother Marv. We have a caller calling in. Welcome to Conflict Resolution Show. Who's calling this time? Did you put it through, brother Andre? Okay. Okay. So please, you know, if you guys want to call in and give your input, the number is 410-702-5657. I'm sitting here with brother Marvin McKenstry and brother Shalech. We're just talking about the culture, So brother Marvin mentioned the gun culture. If the mentality now is I have to protect myself, right? And I have I have to get you before you get me. How can we win?
Well, you that's only part of it. That's the mentality. Okay. The accessibility to the weapons is the whole other part of it. So while we may be trying to work on the mentality, again, like I said earlier, we don't manufacture guns, we don't sell or deal guns, and we're not pumping them into the streets of the city of Baltimore. They not being found by happenstance. Anytime I'm in the juvenile detention center down there, or what they call baby bookings, and I'm in a room with 13 to 15-year-olds, and Sterling can attest to this. I'm in a room with 13 to 15-year-olds, and I poll the room as I'm talking to them, where it's about 9 or 10 kids in there. How many of them are in there because they got caught with a gun? And 9 out of the 10 kids, 13 to 15, are in there on some sort of handgun charge. It lets you know just how out of hand things are. But again, we are not pumping guns into the city of Baltimore. We don't deal guns, sell guns, nor manufacture guns. The reality of it is we have to deal with that part of it. We got to deal with that piece of it. And the legislators aren't dealing with it because it's one thing to set a law. The law ain't stopped drug dealing. It ain't stopped dog fighting. It ain't stopped nothing. We just had a bunch of stuff when I was growing up that was illegal, but it wasn't wrong. In my neighborhood, it wasn't wrong. It was illegal. You know, you didn't want the police to get you, but the community had accepted so many things. It was just a part of our community, a part of our culture. We knew who was doing what and all that sort of thing, and we tried to stay out the way.
Okay, stand by, good people. We're going to go into a break. We'll be right back.
I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
My name is Ruth Rusey. I'm a retired teacher. I'm 91 years old, and this is how I live united. I say retired, but not really. Once a week, I read books to children as part of United Way's education program. Reading to a child creates links between language and literacy. It creates a bond between grown-up and child. And believe it or not, it prepares them for a better academic future. Oh, we read about frogs and flies and pigs with wings, all sorts of juicy stuff. It's a joy to watch all those little faces. I figure I have the time and they have the need. And I've always believed that if we're not here to help each other, then what are we here for really? My name is Ruth Rusey. I help kids prepare to succeed in school. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature. And I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood why people didn't take me seriously because I found myself in somebody else's lane. I was good at what I was doing and what I wanted to be.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. We're going to continue the conversation. We have Brother Shalech and my brother, Minister Marvin McKenstry. And we're just talking about the culture. We're talking about the culture because it's important to understand the mentality of the culture. And as Brother Marvin mentioned, it's important to understand the accessibility of the guns that we don't necessarily bring into the community. So you want to pick up where you left off?
No, I was just saying that, you know, to try as a people and as a community, as a black people, to deal with the mentality of kill or be killed, or I got to protect myself, is only half the battle. Because for everyone that you go and you reach, if you're not able to take him and pull him out of that environment, he's still going to feel to his own degree that he's got to have something to protect him. I'm still in that environment. I'm still in that environment. I had a kid, as I always say, over the last 2 years, I've lost 15. 13 to gun violence, and I've lost 2 to fentanyl overdoses, right? One of the kids pulled him out the community, pulled him off the street, named Dewan, my little man, got a job. He coming home from work. He worked overnight, coming home from work 7 o'clock in the morning after getting paid. Some people who knew him figured they was going to go rob him. Because he ain't give it up easy, they shot him square in his chest and killed him. This was a kid that said, I'm done, I'm out. I ain't doing that no more. Went to work and got killed over his paycheck on pay morning. So again, even if you deal with the mentality and they still in the environment, somebody gonna say, you know, I ain't really out here trying to bang, I ain't trying to rob nobody, but I ain't gonna not have this, because who gonna protect me? The police only come after it happened. They respond. They respond. I gotta protect me.
So what I hear you say is, it's an issue with, there's 2 things that I hear from you: the mentality and the environment.
So let me say this, because my point in saying that was, when you start talking about the people that's bringing the guns in. The level of intelligence, the level of intel that a local agency like BPD has to who doing what will blow your mind. Will blow your mind, because they payroll is big with the people who running around here, as the people in the community say, on papers that's telling them everything they want to know. They know who bringing the guns. They caught one dude, you can look, research the story, caught a dude right in West Baltimore, popped his trunk. I think he had over 250 handguns, brand new, driving around the neighborhood selling them. We never heard what happened to him, though. We never heard nothing about no indictment. We never heard nothing about no case. Again, and I'm not attacking BPD. I'm telling you what's real. I'm telling you what's out there.
Yeah.
So they have the intelligence to know who, what, where, when, and why when it comes down to even who's selling the guns. Nobody is doing anything to sanction these corner stores about having these knives up here that just about anybody can walk in and buy. And more you seeing more stabbings than you ever seen in the streets.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it takes for us to work with the young people and the people that are a part of the culture, but it also takes some stiffer things to happen on the side of legislation, some stiffer things to happen on the side of enforcement, to make sure that the flow and the stream of the tools of violence, which is drugs is a tool of the violence because it produces it. You know, the people that are pumping the guns into our community, the corner store, Mr. Cho and them, they're selling the knives and just about anything else that you can get out there. It takes for there to be some stiffer enforcement on that side because it's contributing to the violence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, it sounds like a hopeless situation. When I hear about, or when I think about the knives, like you said, and I can remember going to a store recently just to get gas and seeing a lot of the knives. And the story that you're talking about with the person who brought in the guns, and I'm thinking of the person who, going back to what I said in the scenario that I gave you, who really wants to do better because he now has a kid, right? But the fact of the matter is, it sounds to me like if I'm living in this environment, now I really got to protect my kid, right? I really have to protect my kid at this point. So you talk about accessibility. So that knife and that gun is something that I'm going to have with me to make sure that I can protect my kid.
And then once BPD roll up on you on the humble and they grab you with the knife, and even though there ain't no bodies or nothing on the knife, you didn't go through Maryland's channels, the state of Maryland's channels to get that knife, or I mean that gun, you know, they arrest you, they hit you with the mandatory 5 on it, you come back uptown, now you can't get a job. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
A vicious cycle. The hopelessness isn't so much in our ability to impact and affect the people, the system, the circle, the oneness of the cycle that continues to produce this madness is more whole. It's more holistic.
Yeah.
At every turn, right? It's right there. And if you're smart, you get into the business.
Yeah.
We just seen a few of what would have been modest, humble black funeral homes, build new buildings.
Yeah.
When the murder rate go like this, if you in the business of anything that contributes to it, including policing,
yeah,
the overtime rates, crime is big business. It's big business. Yeah. Politicians want to hang their hat on what they feel as though they have or can do to prevent it. They'll run on it and all that sort of thing, then don't do what's necessary to impact it. People have built their reputations around Baltimore as people who, quote unquote, speak out.
So stand by. We're going to take another break. We're going to dig into this a little deeper when we get back, because I want to talk about the person who is not involved that makes it when we get back. All right, so stay tuned.
The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You wanna start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run. The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, won with a home run.
Hit the home run.
Right.
They were going into that National series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game. That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
People in my generation and my son's generation, I hate taking pills. I gotta drop it down my throat.
Welcome back, good people. I am your host, Coach White. This is the Conflict Resolution Show. We are talking about a very serious topic, and we're trying to unpack this. Interracial conflict. We're talking specifically about black-on-black male homicides in Baltimore City. Brother, Brother Shalech, I'm sorry. Because I'm still stuck on something that Brother Marvin was saying before the break. The question that I have to you is, how can we win?
As far as?
How can we, as a community, win in terms of survive if I can't necessarily get out of the environment? The legislation is not going to change, or hasn't changed right now. I have to protect myself, right? Guns are accessible. Am I to assume that, or knives are accessible as well, am I to assume that I just need to just buy a gun and buy a knife and have it on me, keep my nose clean, stay in the house? Is that the only alternative?
No. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I'm gonna say, the way our generation set up, like, you got music that make people go out here and want to do killing. The drugs, like certain drugs, Molly, Xanax bars, that'll get them high and they don't even remember they wasn't in. They can go kill somebody and the next day they wouldn't even remember they did that. They'll just wake up in jail and wonder how they got that. Like it's drugs that'll blow their mind to the point where as though they feel so powerful. Like some people say Molly make them feel like Superman.
Wow. So, there are some people, and let me just, I don't even know, and I'm thinking of a number to use, whether I'm using 5 or 10. Let's just say out of 5 people that grow up in the hood, right? As I would call in the belly. Can one of them make it out of the 5? Or should I take the number to 10 and say, 1 out of every 10 gonna make it? And when I say make it, I mean not die early, not be incarcerated. And I'm just going to use those 2. Out of every 5 young men, and think about people in your circle.
Okay.
How many of them made it?
In my circle?
In your circle?
None.
None. So let's take it to 10.
You? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take it to 10.
None.
None. So and just thinking about, how old are you now?
21.
Okay, so you're 21 now. And I want you to take me back to when you were 14, just 7 years ago.
Okay.
Right? How many homeboys have you lost to the streets in 7 years that were in your immediate circle?
Wow.
I don't know. At my age of 14, I remember walking my homeboy home. And we'd be like, we told y'all, remember the last day? It's the last day I ever seen him. So we walked him home, and he was gone. He was entering the door, fumbling with his keys. We walked past 3 dudes. When he opened his door, finally opened his door, we heard one of them 3 names call him. We looked back, and when he looked back too, you seen him like jump, and all you see all 3 of them pull out guns and wham out in front of his house.
At 14.
At 14. At 14.
So he was in your immediate circle, right? Was he, when I consider the dynamics of the belly that we discussed, was he somebody that was in the drug game? Was he somebody that was in the gang? Or was he one of the ones that said, that you could say, and looking back, he gonna make it? Because he ain't caught up in this or he ain't caught up in that.
I ain't gonna say that, because as a kid, I was running wild.
Okay.
Like, I was just so thankful when I was just locked up, telling myself like I can be locked up for so much stuff that's worse than what I'm in there for right now. But as kids, I ain't gonna lie, we was running wild doing dumb stuff.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he got what he asked for, but
he was in the world.
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So, Marv, is there anybody that comes to mind, except for Terrence, that you grew up with? And it could have been an athlete, I don't know, that you could think about and you said, this brother don't smoke, he don't drink, he not caught up in gangs, he ain't selling no drugs, this brother gonna make it. And he actually made it. Out of 5, give me out of 5 of your closest homeboys, how many can you say that made it?
Well, it was one, really. And I used to, you know, coming out of prison and getting on the good foot myself, if you will, and trying to build my life, I used to always talk about this brother, and I actually seen him on my live earlier tonight, Dante Wise. Dante grew up in the same neighborhood as all of us. He seemed to be the brother that literally, and if I'm missing anybody, no disrespect, but Dante, when I first ran into Dante, I ran into Dante. Dante had been to school, got a master's degree. He was working for the Department of Social Services. But even when we was young, Dante managed to, in the same Lexington Terrace housing project that was in, exposed to the same thing, keep himself on that path. Now, can I give you a bunch pass? I got friends now, guys I went to school with, grew up with, that just still, that's coming home off bids and still trying to figure them out, trying to figure their life out, you know? And it's way worse now.
Yeah.
What people do really to deceive themselves, and that's why I'm grateful to be able to have my son here with me tonight. They go get the well-spoken, willing participant kid and put him at the youth forum. He been trained on what to say. You know, a lot of this stuff really is what he desires, is what he wants, but he's not a representation of who we need to be trying to produce this change for.
Yeah.
That's one problem that I have.
Okay.
Then the second problem that I have is exactly what my son was just touching on. The fact that when we bring up those circumstances surrounding those young people's lives, while it's facts, while it's truth, we almost start to use it as a system to validate what happened to them, and not digging deeper to look at what we need to do to produce what is necessary to go and get that kid. I don't run into elementary schools. I don't work with, well, in the mentor project that we just started, we got them that young. But my thing has always been them kids, they around 14, 15, 16, on up to like 29, 30, because that's the generation that's being impacted. But yet you see a bunch of people, they going live at the elementary school. And prevention is good. But we got a group out there right now that's in it 10 toes down, and if somebody don't love and care about them enough to go snatch them out, they gonna continue to be the statistics. I wouldn't say that I particularly chose it. I believe God called me to it. It chose me, however you want to phrase it. But the reality of it is, it's rare. It's not a lot of people looking to go and hit that. For one, it ain't no money for them. You ain't get no funding for that. It's a labor of love. And for this one sitting next to me, I had to move him in my house. Love him. Through all of that process, the process where he walked away to go do him after being there for a year, when he got ready to come back and try it again, I knew that my house and the space, the home that he built, or that we built together, was essential. He ain't gonna be able to change if I leave him over there. Talk to me when we talking about some safe houses. When we talking about some spaces where we can pull these kids and we can literally offer them an alternative to their surroundings that's equipped with everything that they gonna need. It just happened to be my home, my personal living space in his particular case, but I can't take them all. We need to be building them spaces outside the community, where outside of the community they're familiar with, where they can live in a safe environment and everything that's needed is provided. I happen to be a guy that can get people jobs, so whenever he wanted to get it together, I've been able to push a job his way. So he got a home somewhere safe outside that environment, he got a job, and aside from all that, he got somebody that didn't give up on him, just like I had so many that haven't given up on me.
So this is what I hear you saying. The solution sounds like, because we presented the conflict, and everybody knows what the conflict is without a doubt, without any question. But the solution sounds like giving the brothers a safe environment to live in, right? And to also give them some kind of opportunity for employment. Can I add college to that piece? Vocational training, things of that nature, so that you are constantly productive and working on some kind of career goal. So I will have to ask you this. Do you ever go back in that environment at all, for any reason?
Yeah, I go back all the time. Not for that, but I just go in that environment to see my aunt.
Is it concerning to you, and I don't want you to speak, you don't have to speak specifically about your situation. You are here representing 21-year-old males in Baltimore City. Do you have the thought sometime that either I shouldn't go or I'm uncomfortable while I'm here?
Uncomfortable in the community?
Yeah. Where you came from?
No. I ain't gonna say that.
I do.
I say, I mean, when I go around there, right? Like, I see all the fake love and I feel hatred, but I don't pay it no mind, no. Like, I got a reputation whereas though, like, people know how to play with me, but, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's, I don't know, it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Can I speak on it?
Speak on it.
I treat him like he's 5 years old when it come down to that area and that environment, because it scares the life out of me. Everything since I've been in his life, or we've been in each other's lives, that's been negative has been associated with that area. And this is the thing about their generation that I think makes them powerful, and it also scares the crap out you. They don't fear nothing. After being through that situation where he was stabbed in his neck and was in shock trauma for 2 weeks, went from shock trauma to a nursing home, had to learn some functions over again, even after getting locked up 2 times and sitting down and he still don't. I burn his phone. Where you at, man? What's going on? And because that's how toxic those environments are. That's how easily and quickly derailing they can be. I know, man, when I came home from prison, I went to my grandmother's house. That was the home, the same home that I've been able to help him with, right? A friend, I had the Baltimore West Siders marching band because I was always into music. I loved playing drums, right? So the marching band was my outlet for me to be able to have some other activities in my life and just other forms of music, singing and trying to do all this. This was all before I went back to church, or I got back in church. Then aside from that, I had one of the founders of the marching band, Mr. Jeff Pitts, worked as a salesman for the same liquor distributor that he worked for now, and was able to get me a job. So it's the same formula. I needed a safe place, which was my grandparents' home. I needed somebody that can give me opportunity, and I needed some activities. You know, it is, as long as you have, if we can really put a system, because these brothers, let me put it this way, and he can attest to it. I'll speak on it briefly, and then he can take it. Yeah. These brothers don't want to be out there. It ain't profitable like it was when I was young. I know what it's like to see thousands of dollars a day, and I'm talking small operation. I ain't trying to make it seem like I was a kingpin or the modern incarnation of power, right? These guys they nigga living hand to mouth. They don't want to be out there, but where is the opportunities for change?
I got you. And we going to a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, good people.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join the club that gives you stuff.
Hey, thanks!
Radio Loyalty.
Here's how it works.
Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then, you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right?
Radio Loyalty.
Click that banner to join now.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You want to start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run. The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, one with a home run, dribble,
hit the home run,
right.
They were going into that National Series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game. That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have, well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much like you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that you're.
Then your average game you're losing
by a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, a number like negative 65, this early in the season is pretty rough.
That's horrible.
Then the pitching number is pretty much support.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. I'm your host, Coach White, and we were just continuing conversation. You know how we do it. Intraracial conflict, black on black male homicides in Baltimore City. So, Brother Shalech, do we hate each other?
It all depends, like, what's going on. Like, some territories be beefing, or it might just be a family feud, I call it.
Okay. So, are you saying, now let me put words in your mouth.
Okay.
At some time, in some instances, there is real hatred.
Yes.
The brother that, and I'm praying for him, the brother that stabbed you, did he hate you?
It's so crazy because we ain't even fuss. It was just like get out the building, or he just chose to grab a knife. We ain't fuss. I told him no, and that was it. That was the conversation. He whipped out a knife. I laughed. When they turned around, he stabbed me.
Did you hate him?
No, I don't hate him. I ain't the type of person. Like, it's so crazy because I learned how to forgive, and I tell people all the time, I've never been the type of person to hold grudges against somebody.
Okay. So, Marv, where's God in all of this?
So, my perspective on those kinds of things are different than a lot of people.
Okay.
I don't believe we can pray resolution into these situations, because when I read Genesis 1, chapter 1, round about verse 26, he gave dominion over this thing to us. Okay. You know what I mean? And we can pray. When I do pray, I pray for strategies. God, you give me the strategies, deploy me. My morning prayer, I literally say to God, run me in the way of that kid that might be the next homicide victim today. Give me a shot at him before fate finds him. Run him my way. Order my steps, because that's what his word said he would do, right? Order my steps, that I might just happen to have a chance encounter walking down the street somewhere and run into this cat, right? That's got a date with destiny today. Even if it's not, if I'm not able to save his life, at least let me tell him about you. You know what I mean? I believe man is surrendering our power and our ability to impact lives, gathering around and talking about we're going to pray the problem away. Pray until something happens. No, I don't believe in that. I believe you pray, then you go make something happen. And if you don't manufacture it, You pray, and when in prayer you ask for the strategy so God can give you what you need to do to go and make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So with that being said, as you said, Genesis 1:26, he said, have dominion and rule, right? So is God sitting back, waiting for us to have the faith that we should have and the works to align with our prayer?
No, God did his part. Regardless of what your faith system is, if you believe in what we call Christianity, you believe that God did the part of creation. He did the part after Adam made the choice that he made and followed Eve and was disobedient to give us a savior in the sense of the Christ. The Christ comes, he goes through the crucifixion, he resurrects, and it's the second coming is I talked all about all that God did. He ain't waiting on us. He's provided everything that's needed for us to do it. He's provided everything that's needed for. I had another one of my young ladies, a baby girl. I call her my new daughter. I call because all of them my kids. I meet so many of them that one of the areas of their life that's fractured is parental relationships, right? That all of them become my kids, right? Been knowing her for a while, came acquainted with our situation. Just what God provided and put in my space in the sense of relationship, she went from homeless to having a place to live. She was blessed with brand new clothes by another person that's a good friend of mine. She got her hair done by a licensed beautician. It was a good friend of mine. It didn't cost her anything. You know what I'm saying? Another good friend of mine was the resource that got her the housing that she has. I'm already equipped to go do this work. I become pastor of my church on December 30th. If I be installed as pastor, my church is going to be so mission driven because those relationships, we sit around in church and talk about God's favor. God's favor ain't nothing but a relationship that he provided you with the right person that had the resources to be able to do this thing we call ministry, service, the mission. I don't ascribe to the conversation that God is sitting back waiting on us to do. He's already provided and given us what we need. We waiting on us to do. These young people waiting on us to do. They waiting for us to get off the sidelines of do nothing but post on Facebook, post on Instagram, have events, do all this other stuff that's self-gratifying. How many people out there got a basement, an empty bedroom, and those kinds of things in your space that could be one of these safe spaces? So with the young women, I'm realizing that as much as I'm a father figure, right, for them, and as much as I can mentor them, they need some powerful women in their life. They need some women that can help them with the womanhood pieces that I cannot give. I sit and watch sisters argue this thing about teaching a boy to be a man. Y'all continue to debate that. Guess what I do know? That there's some things about womanhood that these women, these young women who gravitate towards me in a godly father figure type of way, I can't give them. So I put out a call on Facebook.
I saw it.
Right?
Yeah.
One of my good friends who's a senator, elected official,
said
I'm in. Just like that. We have the resources to be able to go and do this thing. We can't sit around in the church house or in the mosque or anywhere else in the quote-unquote religious or faith organizations and do a whole bunch of talking, having a meeting about the meeting. Just go grab them.
Just do it.
Do it.
Powerful.
Do it.
So we're going to go to a break. I want you guys to stay tuned. We'll be right back. So don't go nowhere because we're going to close this thing out. Again, I'm your host, Coach White. This is the Conflict Resolution Show.
And I mean that. Go touch somebody's life. You'd be surprised what you have right now that can help you.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature, and I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood why people didn't take me seriously, because I found myself in somebody else's lane. I was good at what I was doing and what I wanted to be, but I wasn't doing it for me. So how can I ask you to take me seriously if I'm living in somebody else's shoes?
And nobody can do what you do, and I think that that's a big problem that people face now. Like, you see what somebody else is doing and you want to do that when that's not your lane.
That's not your lane.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing.
But it's popular, it's getting that person money, it's getting that person applause. Oh, I want applause. I want money. Let me stand over here behind them.
And then a lot of times people aren't honest with themselves either. Like, I was thinking earlier today, I've been woke for almost 2 days, so so you get honesty, yes. And I was thinking, like,
The Artist Exchange Radio.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's radio loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We having a good time. This is a serious topic, but this is a really good time, good fellowship. So we're gonna get back to what I was asking.
Okay.
Are you of the mindset, or is the generation, the 21-year-old young man generation, of the mindset that God deems it okay for me to retaliate? That is okay with God. That because of, in other words, if he killed my man, right? Mm-hmm. It's okay for me to go kill his man. I can retaliate, and God is okay with that. Is that your mentality? Or is that the mentality? Or is the mentality different?
That's what people think. I want to look at it like that. Like, when I got, like, I don't know. Like, I ain't gonna lie, before, I ain't even gonna say religious before I became religious. I'm gonna say before I became righteous.
Okay.
I was on the tip, like, that's how I used to look at stuff, but not from a God perspective. I wasn't a righteous person. It's like I had demon ways. So I'd be on the tip like, if you take from me, I'm gonna take from you. Like, that's how people take it now. Like, and I be looking at it from the parents. Like, people be saying parents is the way they've been raised and all this and that. I wouldn't even say it's parenting now. Like, I was raised up good home. I ain't had to want for nothing. and all that, but it seemed like since my peoples kept me from the streets, I wanted to find out. It made me anxious to find out what was out there. What was they trying to save me from?
Okay.
So that made me jump out there.
Okay. So it sounds like you're not a young man that would have any fault with your parents per se. I think your parents pretty much did all the right things.
I ain't gonna say that either.
Okay.
My mother
Talk to me.
strung out on drugs.
Okay.
As though like she still do it. But I be on the tip like, I used to be on the tip like, if I ever have a kid, I want to bring her around my mother. But then when I became righteous, I had to look like, who am I to judge? Like, I'm not perfect. Ain't nobody perfect.
Yeah. So, and did your mindset change about when you say you became righteous? At the point when you became righteous, did you then say, I would bring my kid around my mother because I make mistakes too?
Yeah. Everybody sin. Like, I be saying that even though I'm trying to get everything together, I still sin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you wouldn't be human, right?
Right.
So, Brother Marv, what would you say to, and let me just recap for a minute. I know that it's important. You were talking about the system earlier. You were talking about how we don't bring in the guns. You were talking about how the laws may not necessarily work in our favor. You were talking about the accessibility of guns, the mentality of the culture. I got to protect myself. And then you mentioned the importance of changing the environment, giving the youth and young adults opportunities for work. We talked about college. We talked about vocational training and things of that nature so that they stay productive and on some kind of career track. And then we were talking about God's influence in the scenario as well. So talk to me about, and this is going to be a continuous conversation, the young man who can't necessarily change his environment, right? That doesn't necessarily want to protect himself even though it's accessible. The laws are already working against him. He doesn't necessarily have a job. Maybe he's a PlayStation kid, right?
I'm talking about Marv.
So what, you put Marv in the hood, in the belly, as I would say. What are his chances?
Well, I'm gonna tell you personally what Marv did with my son, who's the PlayStation kid, really didn't want for nothing, need for nothing. He adapted right to the environment. And listen, the interesting thing was the adaptation took place at Mergenthaler High School.
Okay.
Mergenthaler High School, 9th grade. He getting recruited at the school by gang members.
Okay.
He getting recruited by gang members. All kinds of things happening in that community. Kids trying to go home or whatever the case may be. And my son jumped in with both feet. Because that's the other part of the killer be killed mentality. I'm going to run with you. Because if I'm going to get you, you might get me. No matter what I have at home in the sense of a source of a strong father or whatever the case may be, this is what I had to learn even when my two sons wound up locked up in juvenile detention for 5 months. You teach, you train, you educate, you pour in, you create opportunity and space, but they got this thing that's so powerful that you have no control over called a choice.
Yes.
I'm at work. I'm at work. In my security business, I'm at work.
Yeah.
Trying to provide the living in the household that makes it so that my sons don't have to be a part of that.
Yeah.
My sons get arrested because while I'm at work, they make a choice.
Yeah.
And they down for 5 months. Right? So, and I'm not saying that every kid makes that choice.
Yeah.
Right? But I remember, if you talk to, say like your kids, if you make the choice that my son said he would make and allow his child to go into that atmosphere, that environment that his mom lives in, and he around them cousins that's adapt to and astute to that environment, right? When in Rome, do as the Romans. The crazy thing is, we say these things as though we're not clear, we're not sure on the position or the stance, but yet we celebrate the one. Oh yeah, he from the hood, but he made it. If that was a regular thing, if it was happening regularly, we would have no reason to celebrate it. Right. We wouldn't be looking at the isolated cases and shouting out and all of that sort of thing. Because it would be regulatory. It would be something that is a regular occurrence. Yeah. But the reality that it's not a regular occurrence, right? The reality that when you really look at those statistics, because what Baltimore City Police and what the Baltimore Sun and those other people refuse to do is they refuse to produce the information on all those stats that you read as to where this stuff takes place. Because it's going to reveal that you have a limited segment of this Baltimore that we have, that we love, right? That's producing those numbers. Why don't I want to say that? Because then it goes all the way back up to City Hall. What's happening in these neighborhoods that such a small area of the city of Baltimore continues to produce such violence? Somebody got to answer for that. Then I'm going to give you the statistics. I'm going to give you all the demographic information except where. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That you do not have the police districts that's producing this level of crime listed on here. That you do not have what areas, what neighborhoods, 277 neighborhoods in Baltimore. 277 recommended documented neighborhoods in Baltimore. Tell them, show what the percentage is or what neighborhoods are producing that crime. What police districts?
Yeah.
We know for a fact that it's about 4, maybe 4.5 of the 9 police districts in Baltimore that's producing the bulk of this crime and violence. Why we ain't talking about that? Why we don't want to put that out there?
Yeah.
You got a council person attached to each one of them.
Yeah.
I work in the youth center that sits right in the councilmatic district. I ain't into calling people out, so I ain't gonna say which one. I've been in this center for 7 years, right? We're on our 2nd city council person, right? There was a change in leadership in this last local election. Neither in 7 years of the last 2 city council people have ever stepped foot in that center one time. The center itself serves 2 particular council districts, primarily 3 if you stretch it.
Yeah.
And of these 3 districts, none of the 3 of these city council people has set foot in that youth center not one time. Not once.
Yeah.
That's the reality. Who really cares?
Yeah.
What are we really saying about the neighborhood? What are we really saying about the communities? What are we not saying? When we produce stats and demographics and all of that sort of thing to talk about this crime, what is it we not saying?
Yeah.
That's what we got to look at.
Yeah. So, talk to me about, or rather, what would you say to the parent that, and I think it's very common. Yeah, you got
my phone died. Yeah, I'm still on your live shit.
What would you say to the parent that's working 2 jobs to make it, right? The household who may not necessarily have the father in the home, the mother's doing all she can. She has a young man that's 14, can't necessarily change the environment. The young man may not be working or doing anything productive outside of school. What advice would you give that parent so that the young man, so ultimately we win, a winning scenario?
Keep yourself in play. What I mean by that is one of the great mistakes that I made, I preached so hard against the things that I didn't want to see my children involved in. When those things came along, they knew I was a staunch opposer to it, so they would go and make the choice without including me in the conversation. We got to be a little more open-ended, right? without, as my son says, righteousness. I gotta avail myself or be open to my son being able to come and have that conversation with me. If I've already shot everything down and he's in some way, some space, confused or whatever the case may be, he ain't gonna come talk to me. My daughter, when it come to these young men, because guess what? Some of these young women that we finding out being murdered is attached to the gangs. Me and my son was talking about it today on the way down here. I know young women that's Crips in Baltimore, and I ain't talking about they the girlfriend of a Crip, they Crippin', right? But if that's a situation you're on the fence about, and I as your parents, or whether we talking about sex or gender identity or any of these things that we have a tendency to express ourselves as staunch opposers to, right? If in fact that's who or what we profess to be, this staunch opposer, all I've done is built a brick wall so that conversation can't happen or won't happen. Because my child ain't gonna believe that they don't want to come and catch all that vitriol, right? If in fact they're in a space in their mind where they're exploring it, can we handle that dialogue? Could my son have really come to me like, man, these dudes doing so-and-so suck? You know what I'd have did? I'd have ran up to school, I'd have embarrassed him, I'd have tried my own self to go find whoever it was and deal with them for trying to get at my son. My son knew all that. So when it started happening, my son stayed quiet. My son go to him and tell him things that he wouldn't tell me. I'm still trying to repair that space with my younger son. I'm still with Marv. I'm still trying to repair that space. Because through the years, he saw the Incredible Hulk, calling myself protecting him, and all I did was push him to a space to where, I don't know if I can talk to this guy here a little off the hook. You know, when it comes down to it. So stay open. Be open-ended with your children, not in the sense that you're not expressing your disagreement with certain things, but let that be it. You want your children to be able to come. Encourage them to have a Coach D. White or a Rel or some of the men, a Keon Carpenter, some of the men, a Coach T, that's been a part of my village as it pertains to my sons, because some of the things where my sons haven't been comfortable coming to me, they've gone to my brothers and been able to get like-minded advice, and in some instances encouraged to pull me in where they didn't want to come and talk to me. The one thing that I learned, and I learned this is somewhat a hard lesson, I could mentor all of the boys in Baltimore City and lose my own. Not because they weren't involved, not because I wasn't a part of their life, not because I was neglectful or anything like that. Because in the image and position that I created for myself, I didn't allow them the reality that they had choices to make. They had to either be me, be like me, only thing that was acceptable. So anytime something to the contrary came up in their mind and their thought process, they shut down. I ain't going to him with that.
I hear you.
And then I had to realize that while I may be a great mentor to this one and great mentor to that one, my son need a mentor as much as I'm still daddy. When it comes down to coaching them, I coached them on the football field. Had a hard time drawing the line between coach and daddy. Going over there to that coach. And I don't let other coaches pull me into a situation where I got to play daddy with my kid. I told a flag league my son was playing and he got an attitude. Can you talk to him? No. You go coach him. You know why? Me and my son got a house that we got to go to and deal with the rest of life. And football ain't going to create problems in it because you don't want to be a man and coach him like you supposed to. No, I ain't doing that, Jack. Do I have conversations in the car after the game with my son? I sure will. But you ain't going to have me get out here and embarrass my kid.
Okay. That's good. That's good. We get ready to go to, I believe, the final break. Stay tuned, good people. We'll be right back.
Can you just charge me up a little bit so we can come back?
What you missed on Salacious Life Radio.
You know, when it comes to your children, especially if you're dating someone that you actually like, you do want it to work. So you're gonna hope and encourage the relationship between your child and that person because you like that person, you know. So you're gonna hope for the best. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work, and you can't make it work. You can't force it. It's like a branch. You keep bending it. Eventually, it'll snap, and even if you put it back together, it'll never be what it once was. But you definitely pray on it. You hope for the best, you know, because like nobody wants to spend the rest of their life alone just because a particular relationship didn't work out, but you had this beautiful creature as a result of it, you know. But you don't want to necessarily spend and you're not all of a sudden a bad person. You're not all of a sudden not going to fulfill this other person's needs.
You, madam, are a harlot and a scoundrel.
Because I had one kid while I was still married. Like,
but what if you? I take that back.
What if the situation turns around the other way? So you ready for your child to meet? They meet the person, and this person is a giver. So this person's buying your child lots of gifts and wanting to.
I would usually.
Do you
like,
let?
You don't like if it's a birthday or some sort of holiday or something like that. Okay, and they want to get them a few things or get them something. Okay, but just on like a regular basis, like unless it's like Nestle's Quick or something that you can get from like, you know what I'm saying, or like Kit Kats or something like that. Like, no, don't spend a lot of money
it's
on.
Unrealistic. I'm sorry,
it's unrealistic. Like, don't try to buy his.
Tune in live to Salacious Life Radio every Wednesday from 9 to 11, only on BeExposedRadio.com.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and oh wait, hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow, busy me. So anyway.
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait, Mom, what? Huh?
What? Hold
What'd you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. Again, I'm your host, Coach White. We had a caller in here earlier.
My phone died. I'm back now.
But you still have a few minutes to call. The number is 410-702-5657. That's 410-702-5657. We're about to wrap up the show. I just wanted to have a couple closing thoughts from my guest, Brother Shalech and Brother Marvin. This is going to be a conversation that we continue, most definitely. And what I learned, my takeaway from the topic is to make sure that, number one, if I'm a youth, if I heard you correctly, I need to make sure that I change the people I hang around. Be around more positive people that have a mindset that I have or a mentality that I need to adopt, right? And what I heard from Brother Marvin from a parental standpoint, even from a mentoring standpoint, we have to be loving enough to the brothers in our community to help them to change their environment and to give them something productive to do that's in line with their career path, their interests, and things of that nature. Because what I'm also hearing, one of my takeaways from this conversation is that this is a mindset of the culture that we have to protect ourselves. The guns are accessible, very easily accessible. The knives are even more accessible because I can get these from the corner stores. And the mentality of the beast is that I need to do whatever I need to do to protect myself and my family. So I also heard that we can't necessarily rely on those that are in positions in politics, because politics are politics, and at the end of the day they send out reports that may or may not give us specifics about the demographic, the communities that are hitting the hardest, and the people who should probably be held accountable the most are not held accountable. So I will make sure that I take a mental note at least of these things, because on the show we not only talk about conflicts, we talk about potential ways to resolve the conflicts. And I thank you for everybody that tuned in. Thank you for inviting us to your dinner table. I hope that we will grow as a community to a place where we are having these discussions with our children at the dinner table, and that we having some real conversations. Like Brother Marvin said, I hope that our parents will be loving enough to make sure that we're not building walls between us and our children, that we're being open enough and giving them the platform to be open to share some things with us that if we're not careful, they'll share with their friends, and they'll keep us isolated or in the dark from what they're really experiencing in the community. So, and also heard, one of my takeaways from Brother Marvin is just go do it. God has given us everything that we need at this point to make it happen. He said, have rule, have dominion. So we just need to do our part. You got anything else to share with the viewers in closing, young brother?
No.
Thank you for your input, man. It was very needed, and I look forward to having you back on.
Will brush his hair on
that. Yeah, brushing his hair like Chicago, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Brother Marvin, you want to close us out with anything?
No, man. I mean, I think these are very important conversations that we must continue to have, and we must have it from a real perspective and a real approach. And it's like I said, I'll say it boldly. I believe when it comes down to the intervention, we say, where's God in this? I believe I have to be God in this. I believe God's operating charter in the earth is through man. I believe his favor is the product of relationships. I believe that if I have to be his hands, I have to be his feet, I have to be the living example and embodiment. I've heard the word say that he gave me everything pertaining to life and godliness. And if there's going to be a godly intervention in the earth as it pertains to violence, or right here in my patch of the earth called Baltimore City, it's going to be because I go and I be God. I go reach out, grab them, pull them. I go give them the opportunity, and I make that the priority of my life. I make it the priority of my ministry. I make it the priority of whatever space and opportunity God gives me to exist. And I believe we all have a way of doing that. And if we really look at ourselves, if we look at that time we may spend with our son and open it up to somebody else's son, or that time we may spend with our daughter and open it up with somebody else's daughter, it can make a whole lot of difference, great impact.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, again, just thank you for joining us in another great segment. Hopefully we gave you guys some tools to hold on to. And stay tuned. Next week, we're going to be talking about community conflict. We're going to be looking at specifically the policies and procedures handbook, the Baltimore City Public Schools. We're going to be looking at level 1 offenses versus level 2 offenses, level 5 offenses, and we're going to put some scenarios in it and talk about are our students and our teachers really safe in our Baltimore City Public Schools. So we're going to look into impact that next week. I hope that you will tune in. Again, I am your host, Coach White. This is the Conflict Resolution Show. We'll be back next week at 7 o'clock. So we look forward to seeing you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your support.
Thank y'all for tuning in. I need your help. We got the Helping Overcome Obstacles Daily Project.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org.
Because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see.